evening. How are you?
I'm okay. And
Welcome to my YouTube channel. Um, my name is Terry Forge, and just out of interest for all our viewers, hello, good evening, hello viewers. Um, as you already know, I'm Terry Forge. Your humble boy from the roots. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This evening, I have a special interview with an international student who will be sharing their experience with us and how life is in the UK since coming to the UK and or maybe traveling from their own home country. I will let her to introduce herself. Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm Jessica Brown from Nigeria.
Right, and you are an international student,
Yeah.
as you said, I guess. Um, so, how are you doing and how's life in the UK?
I'm cool. And I would say life in the UK is fair enough. Though it's not something we're used to, but when you get here, you get used to the whole settings and all of that. So
Right.
I'll say it's fair enough.
Okay. So before we start talking about education system in the UK, and if it is value for money and things like that, let's rewind and go back to roots and or maybe where we started. I know I have a set of questions for you. I was just going to go through them just so for our viewers to take or maybe understand how it is from people to leave their own home countries, traveling out to another country, and start a new life, or maybe starting all over again. So, when did you start thinking of traveling to the UK?
Okay, I'll say like 3 years back. Because I did my degree in Nigeria anyway, but after
Right.
studies, it was difficult for me to get a job. I had to learn handwork, skill. So I did the fashion designing thing for some years, but due to the situation of the country anyway, it wasn't moving as I expected. So I decided to probably try out another country since I've not really traveled anyway. So I decided to come to UK for studies. Probably if I get here and it's okay, I can as well relax here and build my career in UK. So I think it's because of the bad governance we have back home and the fact that our country is not working. That's the main thing that really, because it's very, very difficult going through schools for years and coming out with no job and nothing to show for it, just your certificate. And you decide to do your personal thing one way or the other, the country will still affect you in a negative way. So
Right.
that's it.
So you've mentioned about fashion design. We actually heard that fashion design is a multi-billion industry in Africa at the moment, and that's a lot, and lots of people are trying to invest into it. And is that something that is not big, or is it that people are not trusting the system, or people are not investing on their own, or people keep buying things out from abroad, or what is making it fail to start with?
No, I would say it's lucrative back home.
Yeah.
I would say it's lucrative, but the problem we have is just still the government. Do you understand? Because
Yeah.
when it comes to fashion and designing, you have you need your light, and we don't have steady lights back home.
Yeah.
And if you're into fashion and designing, and you tend to buy let me say fuel
Yeah.
for your work and all of that, when you charge your customer, you get to spend the money on things you need to, like, to get light and to get all of that. You end up not making not even enough to pay for, let me say, a shop rent and all of that. It doesn't make sense. So I think the economy back home and the government back home is not encouraging.
Okay, all right. So then you think about alternative, and then the alternative was to travel
Yeah.
out of the country.
Yes.
Was it difficult trying to find a place or a university to travel abroad?
It wasn't difficult because I graduated with good grades anyway. Because once you graduate with first class upper, it will be more easy for you. But once you don't make it to first class, first class and second class upper, it will be a little bit difficult for you. So I came out with 2-1, so it wasn't that difficult to get a school. But the difficult part was the course you want to study. Because
Right.
yes, I did microbiology as my first course. Initially, I wanted to do mental health as masters, but I couldn't get it because I'm an international student.
Okay.
So the little problem I think I had was the course, the choice of course. But apart from that, It was easy. When I changed the course, I got the admission, I got the class and all of that. It was easy.
Right. So I do have a mental health background myself, and I'm glad to hear that it's something that is of interest
Yeah.
to you. Why mental health?
I've always had this thing. I've always had this thing for nothing. But why mental health is because I'll still relate to my roots back home. Because we don't take them serious.
Okay.
Like back home in Nigeria, we don't take them serious. So there's some like things like depression, bipolar, and all of that. You see people going through such I won't call it defeat, like problem or something, but they don't have like who to talk to. They don't have where to go to. They don't have proper organization to take care of them. You see them roaming around in the street.
Right.
You see an unwell person, but the person keeps running around the street and causing nuisance and all of that. So that's the it's like it poised me to do the course, because I know that even if I should end up staying here for like 10 years, 15 years, I will still go back to my country and I'll still want to invest in my country. So that's it.
Right. So here you go, viewers. You've heard what Choma said, or Jessica Brown has just said about mental health problems and the opportunities that we have in Africa, but nobody is tapping into them. We have a lot of our own fellow brothers and sisters suffering from lots of mental health issues, and we don't have enough mental health institution or people to look after them. So that's an opportunity for people who live in diaspora, or an opportunity for people who live back home, who really love and care for their own people. Why not? We should love and care for our own. Try to build institutions that we can look after people struggling with mental health services. People might have money to pay for these services, but the services are not there. Exactly. So that's something that it's worth really looking into. And someone like me personally, the things that I'll probably also look into myself, because I think I really feel passionate walking down the street in our own home countries and seeing people in the streets struggling with their mental health problems, and there's no one absolutely helping them. What I was going to ask is, was it difficult getting a visa to travel?
No, visa to travel is once you have your CAS, once you've gotten your admission, and you have the proof that you have the finance to foot the bills, your visa comes out like 2 weeks to 1 month. So it's not difficult.
So what you're saying, if you meet all their requirements, it's not hard to get the.
It's not hard to get.
It's not hard to get a visa. All right, okay. So that's a positive, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's definitely a positive compared to some other countries. Some other countries, it might take longer, and the process might be too complicated to get a visa. But as said, coming to the UK, if you meet all your requirements, it may not be long for you to get a visa to come to the UK. So that's a plus. But how does it feel leaving your family behind to travel abroad? And loved ones?
It was so emotional.
Right.
So it wasn't easy. It was a difficult decision.
Okay.
It was a very, very difficult decision, because I had to. It took time to tell them, and it took time for them to accept that yes, I'll be going to, because I don't have anyone in UK. I don't have. I wouldn't say I don't have. I have a family. I have a cousin in UK, but he's very far from me. So it's more like I don't have anyone in UK. So it was like a difficult thing for them to accept that I'll actually go to another country, a strange country that I don't know anyone, and be able to survive. So it wasn't easy at all. But we had to look to the positive side of it, that to actually pay more, and it is a plus and form of growth too. So we came to understand and accept our fate. Wow. But I still do miss them. I miss them. I get to talk to them from time to time.
Do you have a big family back home, if I may ask?
Yeah, I do. Not too big anyway. My immediate family, we are not just family of 6, but I have uncles, cousins, and all of that.
Right, and you do miss them. Of course, we all do miss our families when we leave them at home. We all had that first journey experience. How was it at the airport? Was there any emotions? Anyone crying? You crying yourself?
My mom was crying. My brother, I didn't cry because I felt like, I need to go where I will be appreciated. That's how I felt. So I was excited. I was looking forward to entering into the country. So I didn't cry, but I know they cried.
Okay. So how was your flight experience?
Okay, I took a long one.
Okay.
I took a long one. I had to use a flight. We had a stop at Addis Ababa for some hours. Then we continued. So it was long. It wasn't. It was smooth and long. Anyway.
Okay. So did you eat anything on the flight?
When you talk about that, I ate. So I ate. Not just eating. I ate things, strange things. You know when you're eating something and you know that deep down this is not going down, but you just have to push it down because you're hungry. You're hungry. Right? Yeah, I did.
Okay. Right. I think people will be a bit skeptical to say what they actually eat on the flight. Some of the flights are okay, some are not. So if you have your own view on what you eat on the flight, I know if it's your first flight, you can let us know in the comment section. But my experience on my first flight, everything there was strange for me, and I didn't know what to eat. So the only thing I ate was bread. That's the only thing I ate on that flight, which I was familiar with. Right. Okay. For us to move on to that, I was just going to ask you, was anyone waiting for you at the airport to pick you up?
No.
I understand you said you don't have, family here. The cousin you have is in a long distance or so. But how was the experience arriving at the airport? And was there anyone there at all waiting to pick you up that you're familiar with or you know?
No, the person that picked me up, that was my first time of seeing the person. So it's more like a taxi or Uber arrangement. So
okay.
Yeah, I didn't know the person. Just had to use him and pay. That was it.
Right. So how challenging is it arriving in a country and not knowing anyone who is coming to pick you up at the airport?
It was very challenging because yes, you've booked the Uber, but you're not sure if the person will come, and you don't know how the setting is. And that was my first time coming. In fact, that was my first time entering international flights, if I must say.
Right.
So I don't really know the setting. I just it was challenging. It was challenging knowing that you don't know where you're going to and where you're supposed to be. But I was lucky. The person got there before my flight arrived, so it was easy.
Okay. So at least someone picked you up.
Yes.
So did you make arrangement on where you were going to live, or did you start finding a place when you arrived, or how did that work for you?
When it comes to accommodation, I would say it wasn't easy because I had friends here. I thought I have this mentality because back home you're coming to where I stay and you don't know anybody. I'll welcome you, but it's quite different here. Nobody wants to accommodate you. That's one thing you must know. Nobody is ready to accommodate you. So I had friends that I hoped would at least accommodate me for like a week or two before I could know my next line of action. But at the dying minute, all of them disappointed. It's either one said that he needs to book an Airbnb for me. Right. That's like some hours to my flight. And the other one didn't drop the address when I asked. I'm like, okay, can you send me your address so I can tell the Uber guy this is where I'm going to? But she read it and ignored. So, but I started making another plans in the last minute. So I was fortunate enough to get an accommodation. I paid and I just moved into my accommodation straight.
So that's good. At least you were fortunate to get an accommodation. And now that you're already in the UK, do other students share similar experience, or do they have a place already before they come, or do you still have students within your circle who didn't have any place to live in before arriving in the UK?
Yes. I must say that anybody that wants to come here for studies, it mustn't be just your visa. Don't go after let me get the visa. Take your accommodation serious, because that person you think is your friend will not accommodate you. I don't know how they do it, but the mentality over here is quite different. So if you're coming here for studies, as you're hustling for your visa, please hustle for your accommodation. Get it down so that when you come in, you move into your house immediately, because nobody's ready to give you accommodation. I still have my classmates that they're still struggling to get accommodation to date because they had family member that accommodated them. After 1 month, they'll be like, okay, now it's time. And they don't even give you prior notice. They give you like a week or 2 days. You need to move in next 2 days. Either they say someone is coming or they say they need to travel. By then, you don't have any other option than to go move into a hotel. And when you're inside the hotel fee, not be being so as students, how much do they make? When you now pay like hotel every day £100, how much are you making? So please sort your accommodation out. Sort it out before coming. It's a must. Sort it out.
Yeah, I know I'm laughing, but it's very serious. Accommodation in the UK is a very big problem for those who don't know. If you're traveling to the UK, as Riley said, look for accommodation because you arrive at the airport, you might feel really alone. And for the few friends that you have, if you trust them, that's fine. If you don't trust them, try to always make some contingency plan. If not, you'll really be in a very big problem when you arrive here. We have a lot of students and or maybe people who arrive different countries the first time and they end up sleeping in the streets and they don't have anywhere to go at all. That's if they have some money to go to the hotel, that's fine. If they don't have some money, then it becomes extremely difficult for them. When you arrive in the UK, obviously, we talk about registering with the GP or maybe trying to find your way to school the first time or trying just to move around the community you live in. What was your experience about that?
That part back home, I don't use what is it called, Google Map.
Right.
It's more like I know my way around. I just go to where I want to go to and come home.
Mm.
But here, I got to learn how to use Google Map in the UK because there's no one to give you direction. You can't even ask anyone, is here this or is there that? So you just have to use your Google Map. So at first, the first time I went to my school, I had to look for someone. I paid my train fee for myself and the person. We went to my school together just to show me where my school is. So afterwards, I started learning how to use Google Map. It's not difficult because the setting here is very, very easy. Once you have the address of where you're going to, put it in a map, takes you directly to where you're going to.
So that's a good advice for those who come to the country the first time. You don't really need to depend on anyone to take you to where you're going to. If you know where you are going to, put your address on Google Map, as Riley said, and it's going to direct you, whether you're taking public transport or you're going to take a walk or with whatever means of transport you're using, just put the address on the Google Map and it's going to take you there. When you arrive, obviously, the first thing students always think about is, oh, yes, I have to hustle as well. I need to register with the GP, as I did mention before. And, before work, you need an NI number, isn't it? So how did that go? Did you get an NI number instantly or what was the process?
No. When you're coming here, just have it in the back of your mind. Yeah, there is job, but at least the first 1 month, you won't be able to start anything because you need your NI and you need your DBS. NI takes at least 1 month. Let me say 1 month because mine took close to 1 month, just few days to 1 month before you came out. And DBS, same. If you don't have your NI, you cannot apply for your DBS. And you cannot work without NI and DBS. So when you're coming, just know that the first 1 month or close to 2 months, you won't be able to earn money, you won't be able to work. So you have to apply you want to apply your NI, you apply your NI online. They'll give you a reference code. Then with the reference code, you can now apply for your DBS.
Right.
So when the two comes out, you can now start applying for work. And when you apply for work, it doesn't come through immediately. Some works takes like 1 month, 3 weeks because they will still need to get reference from your previous experience. So when you're coming, just have it in mind that at least first 2 months you won't be able to start doing something immediately. It's not like before I came, they made it look like once you're in UK today, the next day you're working. But when I got here, it wasn't the same. And I thank God I had little cash on me. I had to use it and manage my life. So everything started coming together. So that's it.
So just for the interest of our viewer, NI is the national insurance number. You need that to work and contribute towards national insurance, which goes towards your health care. And the DBS, we're making reference to the security check to make sure you don't have any criminal records before you start working in the UK, which is something that is done with every individual, no matter where you're going to work, regardless of what work you're going to do. You need a DBS to work. So coming to this country, you have to make sure your record is clean, your record is actually perfect, and you haven't had any criminal convictions because they do international searches as well to ensure that people that they're employing, they are not just competent, but they do not have criminal records on their names before working for the organizations. So did you register with the GP or any general practice? GP is general practice for health. I know people come in the country, they'll be thinking about, if you're having headache today, who you're going to phone, and if catching a cold, who you're going to call. Was the process easy to register with one?
Okay, before you get here, when you're trying to apply for your visa, you'll be asked to pay for IHS fee. That IHS fee covers for your health care for the cost of, if your course is for 1 year, it covers for duration of 1 year. If it's 2 years, you pay for 2 years as well. So when you get here, still use your Google Map to check the GP around you. When you get the GP around you, just go to the hospital, give them your name. Like when I came in, I went to one close to me. When I got there, they said, no, I need to call a number. They gave me the number. I called the number. They gave me an address where I should come to. I went there. They confirmed that, yes, I paid for IHS, and I filled the form and left. After 2 weeks, they sent a mail that I'm now registered under so GP. So when you have any health issue, you can call them on the phone, book for an appointment, depending on how serious it is. If it's an emergency, they take care of you immediately. But if it's not an emergency, they probably book you in, then you go for your checkup. That's it.
It's quite interesting to hear that coming to a foreign country, you need to actually pay for your own healthcare before you come, isn't it?
We paid around $800 or $900.
So then $900, that's about equivalence of £500, I think, £500 to £600. It is a lot of money for those who don't have, but unfortunately, it's part of the visa requirement, so you need to pay for it before you come to the UK. How was it commuting to school from where you live?
I live far from my school anyway. But there is train that makes it easy. You just buy your train ticket and go to school. So it's far. My school is like an hour plus from where I live.
Okay.
But due to how comfortable I am where I am and the job I'm doing at the moment, I prefer to stay there than go to. And another thing, as a student, we consider the rate of living wherever you want to live, like the accommodation, right. How much the accommodation is, how much they sell things around there. So we always choose where is cheaper for us. So my school is in London. I can't survive being a student and living in London where I know that one room apartment only will cost at least £600, and I don't have that much. So I have to live outside London, but not too far from my school, but at least with the train fare and everything is still fair enough. So we consider all of that as a student.
So what you're saying in essence is when you come to the UK, it's not just about taking a walking distance to school.
No.
It's about considering the whole thing to know what works best for you or what is cheaper for you. If it's cheaper for you to live outside of your school area and commute, then do the maths and do so.
Do your calculation.
Yeah, do all your calculation as rightly said. And what will be best for you, whatever is best for you, that's what you should do. It's your decision. You'll be the one to incur all the costs. So you need to be very careful on how you go about looking for accommodation and or where to live or how near that is to your school. Work is a big thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yes.
So as a student, how many working hours are they being given in the UK?
20 hours a week, but during vacation you can do more than 20 hours.
So during vacation you do more than 20 hours. Yes. So is it difficult finding work for these 20 hours? What's your experience?
There's work in the UK, especially in their healthcare field. There is work in the UK. Once your DBS and your NI is ready, you will find work. There is work in the UK.
Right, it's good to hear to all our viewers, all the students who are looking to travel. Yes, there's work in the UK, especially in the health sector, as rightly said. If you are coming here and you think that health is not something that you're interested in, also then you have to start thinking about what else would you do as a student during your time here. It's not that health is the only work you can get, yes, but that's where most of the jobs are, and that's where they probably pay you reasonably fairly. I must also say. Apart from that, we have different works that also in the UK that anyone can choose depending on their own skills level. So for you to work in the health sector, what's your experience working there? Have you worked in health back home before? Have you done anything health related?
Yes. I have. As a microbiology student, during my IT, I worked in a lab,
Right.
medical laboratory, for like 6 months. After that, I still worked in a hospital too. So it's not something strange. Though I've not really worked in the setting I am in UK because I work in a mental home. I've not really worked there. So it's like a support work. We assist people with their daily activity. So it's easy. It's something I enjoy doing because naturally I have older ones at home. I have my parents at home. I took care of them for years before coming out. So it's not something strange to me. It's something I feel comfortable doing. So
And it's actually something that you've said already that mental health was your thing.
yeah.
So working in the mental health sector will only enhance your experience, and that's something that if you still want to do in the future, that every experience that you're going to get to count. So when you get here, it's not just about work. You also have to think about the future. If you're going into the health sector is very big. Try to pick the area of interest. If you're really interested in mental health, try to do some things in mental health so you can gain the experience as well. Because in the future, if you then want to study mental health in university, that experience will become very, very useful and very handy. So yes, I know students pay a lot of money to come to the UK for their education. Is it value for money? Is the system value for money?
I would say yes. I would say yes because when it comes to environment, they have a very conducive environment that will encourage you to actually do what brought you to the country. And when it comes to access to materials you need, yeah, they still have it because in my own school, they have like a Wi-Fi that is free. You don't need to pay. You don't need to do. They just give you log in with your school details, and you still have our online library. Even if you're not in school, you can access it from your comfort zone, and that is a plus because back home is not like that. So that is a plus. So if you're particular about studies,
Yeah.
you will make it. They have a very comfortable. They have, but one thing I think they are not doing well is they are not lecturing. They call it adult education. Let me use the word adult education. So
Okay.
you do your research yourself.
Right.
You do your learning yourself.
Right.
The only thing they can do is you come to school, you already have the modules in your system, so they just project it and read it out.
Right.
So if you want to understand more, if you want to learn more, it's a self-education something. It's not, they're not there to spoon feed you on anything. So if you're coming with the mindset that yes, lecturer will have to explain in details, no, you're not going to get that explanation. You're going to do your own research, read and read to understand. So well, I think that's what masters entails anyway. So
Yes, as you rightly said, maybe that's what masters entail. You have the autonomy over your own study, and they're making sure that whatever research you're coming back with is your own work. But at the same time, a lot of people expect that there should be more lectures in university compared to home, but that's probably not the case as explained here. So you have to do a lot more work yourself in order to achieve anything that you want to achieve in those universities you've paid this money for. I know I mentioned that they are expensive. How expensive are universities in this country?
I think the list should be around £10,000. They are quite expensive.
Whoa.
Because mine was 13,500, but I got like 1,000 discounts as an international student, so I ended up paying 12,500. And you have to pay like 50% before coming in.
Okay.
And the pressure is very high. Once they say after 3 months you have to finish your payment, after 3 months you have to finish. If you don't finish your payment, you keep getting mails, threats to withdraw your admission, and they mean it. So if you're coming in and you feel like I've paid 50%, maybe now they won't give you that breathing space. They won't. So plan yourself. Either you have the money back home or you're coming here to plan. In fact, plan yourself. Have a payment plan. They don't give breathing space. They don't.
Right. So as you already heard, there's pressure.
Yes.
The schools are very expensive. £13,000 is a lot. But how can you advise people looking for education to apply for this sort of? I don't know. You said you had, is it a bonus or you had £1,000 less from your school fees? How did you get that?
I would say some schools are more expensive than others. In as much as I pay 12k plus, there's some schools that pay as much as 17k plus. So I would advise, if you're sourcing for schools, be particular about their school fees. Check. When you check for their school fees, if there is any discount attached, is to be written there, obviously. Discount 1,000, discount 2,000. So make sure you check for the school fees. Don't just apply because you're desperate to travel and you end up putting yourself into a tight corner. So consider the school fees. Let the school fees be number one priority before coming in. There are more affordable schools. I know some schools that are way cheaper. You get them far from London, like the northern part of UK. Yeah, so consider that. Or if you have enough money, that's fine. But if you don't, consider schools that are way cheap. That would be fair.
So these discounts, are they negotiable?
No.
So they're not negotiable?
No.
Okay. So when you go to school, are you guys timed, or can you just walk in anytime you want, since they say it's adult education? Or can you absence from classes? So how do they work?
Oh, you told them you're coming here for studies. Right. And they believed you're coming here for studies, and they expect you to come to class every day. You have lectures, and not just coming to class, you come to class early enough because you have your school identity card. You have to clock in and clock out. So, and clocking in, you cannot just clock in anytime you want. If your lecture is for 9 o'clock, you have 10 minutes before 9, 10 minutes after 9. That is the only grace you have. And once, like my school, once you're absent like 3 times, they send you a mail, and you don't come to defend your absence, they send it to the UKVI. And that's withdrawal for you. So they take their attendance serious. It's not something you can say, okay, since I'm here, I'll have to skip school. They take it serious.
Okay, that's good to know. So if you are here to study, you are here to study.
Yes.
So you don't have to miss classes. You need to attend your lectures. And if you have to work, then you have to organize work around the days that you are working. So are there random classes, or is it structured?
It's structured. You have a timetable. They can't just fix classes any day. You have a timetable. If it's going to be online, you see it early enough. If it's not going to be online, you see it. So you have your timetable for the semester. If you're to attend school twice a week, you already know it's twice a week, and you know the days. They can't move it from Monday to Tuesday. If it's Mondays and Thursdays, it's Mondays and Thursdays till the end of the semester. That's it.
Right, so that's really good to hear. So this is all planned, it's all structured, so it's very easy for you to work around it. So you have to plan around your own timetable. If you have any work, if you have or been given work on your study day, please remember you're here to study. You have to defer that work, or maybe cancel, because you have to get to university. If not, you end up in trouble. That's the experience traveling and studying in the UK. What I was going to ask you is about general life and experience. Have you been seeing the things that you're familiar with back home here in the UK, in terms of food, dresses, and things like that?
No. I would say, okay, in terms of food, you have African shops, but they are quite expensive, and the culture here is quite different from the ones home.
Right.
Back home, you can live in a place and you know your neighbor. Your neighbor can come and knock on your door. Hey, JC, how are you today? It's not the same here. So if you are the kind of person that always wants to be outside and with friends, you will face I wouldn't want to use the word depression, but you'll be lonely. It's not the same here. Nobody checks on anybody. You're on your own. So, and dress sense here is different from dress sense back home. So when you come here, you try to fit in, or if you can still move with your clothes, you move with your clothes, because the dress sense here is different. The weather here too is different because it's cold, so you need to cover your body more. So I think things are actually different. Like back home, you won't see people smoking and walking on the street, but here you can actually see a 15-year-old person smoking and you can't even say nothing. And you see something going wrong, you can't say. But back home, you can see something going wrong. Be like, hey, no, don't do that. You don't do that. You mind your business. So it was difficult for me to understand that you need to mind your business. Right. So it's a learning process. It's a learning process.
So what's your biggest shock since coming to the UK? What's your biggest shock? Cultural shock?
Um. Okay. The one, the one is back home. We address our elders as auntie, brother, uncle, sister. But here, we will call everybody by their name. I started work. I saw one elderly woman, the same person, and I'm like, Auntie Money, please. And they say like, everybody call them by their name. Even your manager, no man, no sir. Everybody goes by his or her name. So I think it was a shock because I'm coming from the eastern part of Nigeria, where we take respect as a very huge something. You can even where I come from, someone that gives you 2 years or 3 years, you need to still add like sister or brother to their name. So here, till now, I still struggle with calling them by their name, but we get there anyway. We get there.
I think we all had our own cultural shock and experiences when we arrived different countries or we just changed even state within our own countries. I think mine was slightly different to the names, but the names is also a cultural shock to me. But the first cultural shock I ever had in this country was arriving here in winter. We read about winter, in books, but we didn't really know what it meant, So I arrived at the airport and I walked out of the airport and I ran back in and I said there was AC outside. So that was my own experience. I had to say there was AC outside, and I was reminded that it's just cold. It's not air conditioning. I even said, "Oh, these people are very rich for them to put AC everywhere outside this cold," but it wasn't AC. It was cold, real cold, and places were really, 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 really cold. So you take transport to school and back, isn't it? And you also take transport to work and back as well. How do you find the transport system? Is it reliable? Are the people nice? Are they? Or how is it here in the UK?
I would say it depends on where you live anyway. Because if you live in the London, transportation system is very easy. But if you live outside London, like we do, weekdays is fair, but weekends you have a little problem with transportation because they are not steady. And I had a very funny experience sometime last 2 weeks.
Right.
I had to. I was supposed to resume work like say by 8. Where I go to work is a bit far from my house. I had to leave my house early enough. I got to the bus station, like let me say 10 minutes of okay, let's say 10 minutes to the bus time. I saw my bus with the number and service and everything coming. I was waiting for the bus to stop, but the driver drove past me.
Right. That's a strange one.
And that really broke me that day, I must say. It really broke me. So I think there's still some people that still have that racism mindset. That's what I think, because that's the only reason the white driver will drive past me without stopping. So that's some things you have to experience. And I would say, yeah, I felt bad, but I would say if you're here and you experience that, don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. Because I would say I feel their pain because they feel like it's their country and we are trying to dominate their country. So I feel their pain a little bit. So that's some things. It's not like it's everywhere, but once in a while you might come across such things. And when you do, don't feel too bad. I felt too bad because I've never been. I had to stand there for extra 10 minutes for another bus, and I ended up going to work late after leaving my house early. So I felt bad, but I would say if it happens to me tomorrow, I won't feel that bad because that was the first experience. So.
So I do agree with you that if you have such experience, do not feel bad. Don't let it wear you down and also. But what I'll probably advise everyone out there is that do not feel guilty that you are here in the UK, especially if you are a student. You're paying a lot of money to be here. Any work you're doing, you're paying for your own contribution, and you are here legally. And it's your right. If you are standing at that bus stop, you're not begging for the driver. You're not begging for transport. You're not asking to go on credit. Even if you are, that's not their transport system. You are only trying to use the public transport. So do not feel guilty for anything that you are paying for and someone leaving you behind. Yes, you do have some idiots who sorry to use the word idiot, but you have some people who are very disrespectful. They feel that they're so high up there, they're very important. Don't judge every white person depending on the fact that, he or she, they left you at the bus stop. You have some very good people in this country who support you even when you are down at the floor level. And you also meet some who do not even believe that a black person or any or person of different race should be in this country. But at the end of the day, this is a free world. Everyone have the right to travel. Traveling is education. What I advise people like that, if I have a one-to-one with them, is they should actually explore the world and know that there's more to life as opposed to just being within the same circle and feeling too important. So never let this weigh you down. I think that's why there's a lot of adverts in this country or every country around the world about Black Lives Matter. We all have met, or come across racism or racist remarks at some point in our life, either transport from JC's experience and also maybe from schools or from work or at work or any other works of life place. So just remember, never let it weigh you down. It is just an experience, reflect on it. And if it was never the best experience, just think of how you can manage that situation differently if you've come across it again in the future. Actually, thank you for sharing that. That's a very huge thing to be left at the bus stop. It really means a lot for anyone who really feels that, they've been discriminated against because of their race or color or background. That's a very bad thing. So the final thing I was going to ask you is, what's your advice to fellow African students who are trying to travel to the UK to study?
My advice is try and build yourself, get a skill before coming in. It's very, very necessary. If you're a guy, maybe learn all these IT skills, get them down. If you're a lady and you want to still learn IT, is a plus for you. You can still learn hairdressing, fashion and designing, nails making, lashes extension, all of those things. They are the things like what works here mostly is skills. That you're a professor and all of that, you don't want handwork skills. So get one, hold one before coming. And secondly, have it at the back of your mind that nobody is here to pamper you, and nobody is here to check up on you. So if you're coming, you should wear like a thick skin, because you will see things that will weigh you down. So many things that will weigh you down. At a point, like when I entered, first 2 months, I felt like I made a huge mistake coming into the country. But with time, I started getting used to the whole environment and how it works. And now I must say I'm enjoying it, because you're working, you're seeing your money, and you don't have to please anybody, and you don't have to do anything to get any extra. Just do the needful, do what you're supposed to do, and get paid, and that's it. Unlike back home, if you don't know anybody, you won't get anything. Here, you don't need to know anybody. Do the needful. And when you come in here, please don't cut corners. There's nothing like cutting corners. Follow the right way. Do the right thing. If you're to pay, let me say you're going to so the location and you're to pay £2, please pay £2. Don't say I will not pay £2 until they ask me to pay 2. Don't cut corners. Try and live your life the right way. That's what I would say.
Right. Thank you for all that advice. I think, doing the needful or doing the right thing here is very important. If you think that you are cutting corners, trust me, you'll pay more down the road. You do have inspectors even on buses, you have them on trains, you have them everywhere. If you're driving, that's a bonus for you to get it to where you are going. But remember that we have speed cameras. Don't think you leave your home late and trying to skip the traffic to get to work on time. You might never get to work because everyone follow the rules here. Red light means red and red means stop. So if it is red, you have to stop, and if you get to the station, if there's a long queue, you have to join the queue. You can't just start skipping queues just because you feel, you are running late. So you have to leave your home on time and join that queue to get to where you are going. If not, you find yourself behind and then you end up late. And don't forget, lateness in this country, it counts. It does count. And I think you can share experience on lateness.
No, it counts. If you're to start up by 8 and you're starting by 5 minutes past 8, it's like 15 minutes off your salary. So everything counts.
Yeah. So as you heard, everything do counts. Yeah. I'm really glad and thank you very much for coming on my channel to share your experience. I really hope that everyone enjoyed this. I will urge all students who are traveling abroad to watch and listen to students who are already here in the UK and their life experience. This is going to be a good footing for you when you're traveling, and how you can prepare yourself right from finding a university, right from finding accommodation, and right from getting the right place to stay, and the best how or the best way to get to university, how to find work, what you need before you start working, right up to maybe anything else, life, food, education, maybe clothing. And also, one thing that we will say, as has mentioned before, the dressing style in this country is very different. If you're coming to the UK, don't just feel you leave all your dresses behind.
Come with them.
Right, you come
with them, because I am finding it difficult to buy dresses. Come with them.
Right.
Come with your dresses.
So come with your dresses to start with. Come with your foodstuff to start with. So before you start hitting the ground rolling, as I said, you might not properly work for a month, and you're on your own. There's no one here to babysit you, so you have to feed and fend for yourself. So those are things that you have to remember that we've already discussed. So please, watch, share this video, subscribe, and be part of this awesome YouTube family. I remain your humble boy from the roots, Terry Forge. And thank you very much for coming to my channel. Thank you. I really appreciate you. And to all our viewers, bye. Goodbye.
It's not in